In the luminous depths of Tetheria's capital, Lyra, the High Scholar, paced the dusty shelves of the Grand Archive, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. Tonight, she sought the truth rumored to be locked away in forbidden texts, legends of the so-called humans. Ridiculous superstitions, muttered the archivist, an old Tetherian with scales that shimmered like the deep sea, as he handed Lyra a lantern. But if you must indulge your curiosities, Scholar Lyra, this section has what you seek. Lyra's fins flickered in the water, a nervous tic she had since she was a hatchling. Thank you, Iron. I promise to be careful. The archivist nodded, his eyes glinting with unspoken warnings, and left Lyra in the dimly lit aisle. She ran her webbed fingers over spines of ancient texts until one caught her eye, a leather-bound tome with no title, only a strange, human-like figure embossed on the cover. Whispering a quick prayer to the old gods of Tetheria, she opened the book. The pages were brittle, filled with sketches of creatures with 2 legs and 2 arms, traveling among the stars in vessels that defied the imagination. Lyra's pulse quickened as she read aloud, "Upon the great exodus, our ancestors fled across the cosmos, their legacy scattered among the stars like seeds in the wind. These humans shaped worlds, bending the fabric of space and time." Suddenly, a tremor shook the archive. Alarmed, Lyra clutched the book to her chest and swam to the observatory atop the archive. Pushing against the heavy current, she reached the ancient telescope, a relic from a bygone era when Tetherians looked to the stars with wonder rather than fear. Peering through the telescope, Lyra's breath caught. There, streaking across the heavens, was a sight no Tetherian had seen in millennia, a fleet of star ships, their hulls gleaming under the celestial light of passing comets. The designs matched those in the ancient tome exactly. Heart racing, Lyra recorded the coordinates and the ship's insignias with trembling hands. This was proof. The humans were real, and they were here. The archivist's voice suddenly echoed in the chamber, stern and commanding. "Lyra, what have you done?" She turned, finding Iron's gaze filled with a mixture of awe and dread. "Iron, the humans, they exist. Look!" She gestured wildly towards the telescope. Iron's eyes widened as he looked through the lens. After a long moment, he sighed deeply. This changes everything. The council must not know, Lyra. You understand? They fear what they do not control. But we must tell the people, Iron. We must. Tell the people? Iron interrupted sharply. And ignite a war? The humans may not come in peace, child. We do not know their intentions. Lyra's fins drooped, but her resolve hardened. Then I will find out their intentions myself. I have to know the truth about our past, and our future. Iron studied her for a long moment, then slowly nodded. Very well. But be cautious, Lyra. The council has eyes everywhere, and you tread dangerous waters. With the ancient book tucked under her arm, Lyra swam out into the night, the starlit sea above guiding her path. Her mission was clear: uncover the intentions of the human fleet and reveal the truth hidden by generations of lies. As Lyra approached the outskirts of the city, the darkness of the deep ocean enveloped her. The only light came from the bioluminescent flora and fauna that flickered like stars in the water. Here in the silence of the depths, she could think, plan, and dream of a Tetheria united under the truth of their origins. But as she swam, a shadow loomed overhead, a Tetherian patrol ship. Lyra ducked behind a rock formation, her heart pounding. She couldn't get caught, not when she was so close to revealing the truth. The patrol passed without noticing her, and Lyra continued her journey towards the remote observatory on the edge of the archipelago, where she hoped to communicate with the human fleet. Reaching the observatory, Lyra set up the ancient communication equipment, her fingers deftly adjusting the dials and switches, guided by the instructions from the human tome. The machine hummed to life, sending a pulse of light towards the stars, a beacon in the dark. As the light faded, Lyra waited, her every sense alert. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours until a crackle over the communicator made her jump. A voice, deep and filled with warmth, spoke. "Tetherian vessel, this is Captain Helena Ride of the Human Galactic Fleet. We received your signal. Do you require assistance? Lyra's voice trembled as she responded, "No, Captain Ride. I wish to speak about your intentions towards Tetheria. And about our shared history." There was a pause, then the voice replied, "We have much to discuss, Scholar. We come in peace, seeking to reconnect with our lost colonies, to share knowledge and culture. We did not expect to find you so unprepared for our arrival. Many here do not believe you are real," Lyra confessed. "But I want to learn, to bring the truth to my people. Then let us meet, Scholar Lyra. Face to face, under the stars of your world. We have much to learn from each other." As the transmission ended, Lyra felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She had done it, made contact with the humans, her ancestors. Now, the real work would begin. But as she prepared to leave the observatory, a new determination filled her. She would not only bridge the gap between her people and the humans, she would also challenge the Council's reign of fear. Tetheria was on the brink of a new dawn, and Lyra was ready to lead her people into the light. As Lyra made her way back to the heart of the capital, she felt the weight of her discovery pressing down on her. Every flick of her tail through the water was burdened with the potential consequences of what she had learned. As the bioluminescent light from the flora guided her path, Lyra's thoughts were interrupted by a sudden, harsh voice. "Hi Scholar Lyra, halt." The voice was unmistakable. It was Commander Thelos, one of the Council's most trusted enforcers. His imposing figure blocked her path, flanked by 2 guards armed with pulse nets. "Commander Thelos," Lyra acknowledged, her voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through her veins. "To what do I owe this unexpected interruption?" Thelos's eyes narrowed, his gaze piercing through the dim light. "You've been observed at the old observatory, Lyra. The Council grows concerned about your interests. What were you doing there?" Lyra knew she had to tread carefully. Revealing her discovery prematurely could jeopardize everything. "Merely indulging my curiosity, Commander. Our ancestors left behind much to be discovered. I seek only knowledge." "Knowledge," Thelos scoffed. "Or subversion? The Council warns against idle pursuits that challenge the peace of our society. Is it subversive to seek understanding?" Lyra countered, her resolve hardening. "I believe it strengthens us." Thelos stepped closer, his presence imposing. "Be careful, Scholar. Curiosity can lead to heresy." With a swift flick of his tail, he signaled the guards to lower their weapons, and they moved on, leaving Lyra to ponder the thin ice upon which she skated. Pushing forward, Lyra reached her home, a secluded alcove beneath the roots of a massive coral tree. Inside, she found Ronan, the human she had secretly sheltered, tending to his wounds. His appearance was starkly different from any Tetherian, with limbs adapted for land rather than water, and a rugged, weary face that spoke of many battles. "You're back," Ronan noted, relief evident in his voice. "Were you followed?" "Possibly," Lyra admitted, checking the security measures around her dwelling. "We must be cautious. The Council is suspicious." Ronan nodded, understanding the gravity of their situation. "We need to act quickly then. Have you been able to learn anything more about their intentions towards us?" Lyra shared her findings, her voice low. "The fleet, your people, they're not invaders. They're explorers, reconnecting with lost colonies. Our leaders have lied to us, Ronan. They've hidden our true origins." Ronan's eyes hardened with resolve. "Then we must expose the truth. If your people knew their heritage, they wouldn't stand for this deception." "But how?" Lyra's fins fluttered anxiously. "The Council controls everything, the media, the military, the schools. They'll silence us." Ronan moved closer, his expression serious. "I've dealt with oppressive regimes before. We start by uniting those who already suspect the truth. We form a resistance." The idea was dangerous, revolutionary. "A resistance," Lyra repeated, the word feeling both terrifying and exhilarating. "Yes," Ronan confirmed. "And we use the upcoming gathering of scholars as our platform. It's the one time when the eyes of the public are on academia and not the Council's propaganda." Lyra considered this. The gathering would be the perfect venue to spread their message, with scholars from all over Tetheria attending. It could work, she conceded. But we need undeniable proof. Something irrefutable. Ronan suggested, what about the ancient texts you found? And I can gather data from our fleet, histories, logs, star maps that show Tetheria as a colony. Motivated by a newfound purpose, Lyra and Ronan spent the following days planning. They reached out to trusted colleagues and discreetly rallied support among the academic community, careful to avoid the prying censors of the council. Meanwhile, Lyra worked tirelessly to translate more of the ancient texts, each line revealing more about the past Tetheria's rulers had buried. Ronan, using encrypted channels, communicated with his fleet, securing the necessary proofs of their shared history. The night before the gathering, Lyra and Ronan reviewed everything they had. The ancient texts lay spread out before them, alongside digital displays of star maps and logs from the human fleet. We have one shot at this, Lyra, Ronan said, his voice a mixture of encouragement and warning. Tomorrow, we tell your world the truth. Are you ready? Lyra looked at the evidence surrounding her, at Ronan, who had risked everything to help her, and felt a surge of determination. I've never been more ready, she affirmed. The dawn of the gathering found Lyra stepping onto the grand stage, her heart pounding in her chest. The assembly was packed, the air buzzing with the anticipation of new scholarly revelations. But none could anticipate the truth Lyra was about to unveil. As she began to speak, revealing the truths of the texts and the stars, the crowd listened in stunned silence. Ronan, hidden among the attendees, watched as the Tetherians faced their real history for the first time. The council, too, was watching, their fury mounting as Lyra's words spread through the crowd. But it was too late to silence her. The truth, once spoken, would not be contained. And as Lyra spoke, the sky above them brightened, not with the light of Tetheria's twin suns, but with the descent of the human fleet, come not as conquerors, but as kin. The proof of her words made manifest for all to see. The moment the human fleet broke through Tetheria's skies, chaos rippled across the gathering. Gasps, cries, and panicked whispers filled the grand hall as the massive vessels, their hulls shimmering with the light of distant stars, hovered above. Lyra stood firm on the stage, her voice unwavering despite the fear spreading through the crowd. Look above you, she called out, her voice echoing across the chamber. The truth cannot be silenced any longer. The legends are real, and our ancestors were not the sole children of Tetheria. We are the descendants of the stars. These ships carry proof the council has hidden from us for generations. The crowd stirred uneasily, their expressions a mixture of awe, confusion, and terror. The council of priests, seated at the head of the hall, glared at her with barely contained rage. High Priest Kale rose, his voice cutting through the noise. This is blasphemy. Kale thundered, his robes billowing as he pointed an accusatory finger at Lyra. Do not let her lies poison your minds. The so-called humans are invaders, here to destroy us and take what is ours. They bring nothing but death. Lyra turned to face him, her fins trembling with suppressed fury. You knew, didn't you, Kale? You knew they were out there, and you hid it from us. You kept us in ignorance to maintain your control. Kale's face darkened, his voice dropping into a dangerous growl. Silence, heretic. Guards, seize her. The room erupted into chaos as guards moved toward the stage. Lyra's heart pounded, but before they could reach her, a sharp, commanding voice rang out. Stop! Heads turned as Ronan stepped forward, his human figure striking an imposing contrast against the Tetherian crowd. His voice carried authority, amplified by the translator device on his wrist. I am Ronan Kane, lieutenant of the Human Galactic Fleet, and I come in peace. We are not here to invade. We are here to reconnect. The hall fell into a stunned silence, the presence of an actual human freezing the guards in their tracks. Lyra took the opportunity to speak again, her voice steady and resolute. This is the truth they've kept from us. The humans are not our enemies. They are our ancestors, our kin. They've come not to take but to share, to show us who we really are. Kale's composure cracked, his voice rising with desperation. Lies. This human is a deceiver, here to manipulate us. Do not let their presence sway you. Ronan raised his hands, palms open in a gesture of peace. We have no reason to manipulate you. We bring records, history, and evidence of your connection to the stars. The choice is yours, listen and reclaim your legacy, or allow your leaders to bury the truth. The tension in the room was palpable, the crowd caught between centuries of fear and the undeniable presence of something greater. Kale, sensing his grip slipping, gave a sharp nod to the guards. Take them both. Now. But before the guards could act, a deep rumble shook the hall. The crowd screamed as the vibrations intensified, sending decorative banners and artifacts crashing to the floor. A massive projection appeared in the air above the gathering, displaying a live feed from the lead human ship. This is Captain Helena Ride of the Human Galactic Fleet, a voice boomed, calm but authoritative. Her face, strong and composed, appeared on the projection. We mean no harm to the people of Tetheria. However, we will not stand by while those who seek power through deception silence the truth. If any harm comes to Lyra or Ronan, we will intervene. The guards hesitated, exchanging uncertain glances. Kale's face contorted with fury as he bellowed, "Do you see? This is what they bring, threats, control, and fear. They seek to dominate us." "No!" Lyra shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. "They seek to free us from your lies. You fear the truth because it will end your rule." A young scholar in the crowd stood, his voice trembling but determined. "If what they say is true, shouldn't we at least hear them out? What are you so afraid of, High Priest?" Kale's gaze snapped to the scholar, his expression a dangerous mix of wrath and desperation. "You dare question me? Guards." Another scholar stood, then another, until dozens of voices rose in support of Lyra. "Let them speak. Let the truth be known." Ronan stepped closer to Lyra, his voice low but firm. "You've done it. They're listening." Kale, realizing his control was slipping, made a final, desperate move. He reached into his robes and produced a small, ornate device, a control switch. Lyra's eyes widened in horror as she recognized its design from the ancient texts. "The weapon," she whispered. "He's activating it." Kale's voice was wild, unhinged. "If the humans will not leave, I will make them leave. I will protect Tetheria, even if it means destroying us all." Before anyone could react, Kale pressed the device. A low hum filled the air, followed by a rising whine that seemed to vibrate in Lyra's very bones. She turned to Ronan, her mind racing. "The weapon's power source is deep beneath the city," she said urgently. "If we can disable it." "I'll go," Ronan interrupted. "You need to keep the people together. If they lose hope now, Kale wins." "No!" Lyra grabbed his arm, her eyes fierce. "You don't know the terrain. You'll never make it in time." "Then come with me," Ronan said, his voice steady. "Together, we can stop him." Lyra hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "Let's go." As they raced toward the depths of the city, the whine of the weapon grew louder, the crowd's panic echoing behind them. The fate of Tetheria, and its rediscovered connection to the stars, hung in the balance. The corridor to the weapon's core was eerily silent, save for the rhythmic hum of the energy pulsing through the ancient machinery. Lyra led the way, her fins propelling her swiftly through the water, her mind racing with a blend of fear and determination. Ronan followed close behind, his human form slower but just as determined, his hands gripping a compact pulse rifle. Neither spoke, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily on them. "We have to move quickly," Lyra whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum. "The core chamber is heavily guarded by both automated defenses and council loyalists. If Kale's activation sequence completes before we shut it down, the fleet will be destroyed." Ronan's voice was calm, but his gaze was sharp. "I've seen doomsday weapons before. They're usually over-engineered and full of redundancies. Tell me you have a plan." Lyra nodded, her voice gaining strength. The activation codes are stored in a central control crystal near the core. If we can sever the crystal from the system, it'll disable the weapon completely. But getting to it, that's the hard part. A sudden vibration rippled through the corridor, and Lyra stopped abruptly, raising her hand to signal silence. The faint glow of Tetherian guard patrols illuminated the far end of the tunnel. Ronan gripped his rifle tighter, his muscles tensing. 2 guards, he whispered. We take them down quietly. Lyra hesitated, her heart pounding. Violence was not her way, but she knew there was no alternative. She nodded reluctantly, and Ronan moved forward with practiced precision. Within moments, the guards were subdued, their unconscious forms drifting weightlessly in the water. Efficient, Lyra murmured, a hint of awe in her voice. Not my first time, Ronan replied, a ghost of a grin flashing across his face. Let's keep moving. As they approached the core chamber, the hum of the weapon grew deafening, the air charged with static energy. The entrance was guarded by a squad of elite Tetherian soldiers, their armor gleaming with the symbols of the Council. Lyra's heart sank. They were outnumbered and outgunned. Ronan surveyed the scene, his expression unreadable. We need a distraction. Lyra's mind raced. The auxiliary vent shafts, she said, pointing to a narrow passage above the chamber. If I can access the control panel on the other side, I can trigger a system overload. It'll draw their attention long enough for you to get to the crystal. Ronan frowned. That's risky. If they catch you. They won't, Lyra interrupted firmly. This is my world, Ronan. I know how to navigate it. Ronan hesitated, then nodded. Be careful. Lyra slipped into the vent shaft, her slender form weaving through the narrow passage with practiced ease. She emerged on the far side of the chamber, her heart pounding as she accessed the control panel. Her fingers moved swiftly, inputting the override codes. The system began to whine, sparks flying as the overload sequence began. The guards reacted instantly, their attention diverted to the malfunctioning systems. Ronan seized the opportunity, slipping into the chamber and heading straight for the control crystal. The glowing, pulsating orb sat atop a pedestal, its energy rippling through the room like waves. As Ronan approached, an alarm blared, and the guards turned their attention back to him. Lyra's heart sank as she watched the scene unfold. Ronan, outnumbered, fired his pulse rifle, the blasts illuminating the chamber in flashes of blue light. He moved with the grace and precision of a soldier, taking down guards one by one, but the odds were overwhelming. Lyra couldn't stand by any longer. She emerged from the vent shaft, grabbing a fallen guard's weapon and joining the fight. Her aim was shaky, but her determination was unyielding. Together, she and Ronan fought their way to the pedestal, the air crackling with energy and tension. Cover me! Ronan shouted as he reached the control crystal. Lyra nodded, her weapon trained on the remaining guards. Ronan examined the pedestal, his hands moving quickly to disconnect the crystal from its housing. It's rigged, he muttered, his brow furrowing. If I remove it the wrong way, the entire system could detonate. Lyra's heart raced. Then we don't have much time. You can do this, Ronan. He glanced at her, a flicker of doubt in his eyes, but her unwavering gaze steeled his resolve. With a deep breath, he began to deactivate the crystal's locking mechanisms. The process was painstakingly slow, each second feeling like an eternity. The guards regrouped, their numbers bolstered by reinforcements. Lyra and Ronan were cornered, the odds stacked against them. Lyra's weapon overheated, and she tossed it aside, her fins trembling with exhaustion. Ronan, hurry, she cried, her voice desperate. Almost there, he shouted back, his hands steady despite the chaos around him. A sudden surge of energy rippled through the chamber, and the crystal dimmed. Ronan held it aloft, his face etched with relief and triumph. The weapon's hum ceased, the static energy dissipating as the system shut down. The guards hesitated, their confidence faltering as the weapon was neutralized. Lyra seized the moment, her voice ringing out with authority. It's over. The Council's lies end here. Stand down. The guards exchanged uncertain glances before slowly lowering their weapons. The battle was won, but the war for Tetheria's future was just beginning. Lyra and Ronan stood side by side, the crystal in Ronan's hands a symbol of their victory and a beacon of hope for what was to come. The silence after the chaos was deafening. The guards, unarmed and disoriented, slowly retreated, leaving Lyra and Ronan standing at the center of the now dormant weapon chamber. The control crystal in Ronan's hands pulsed faintly, its light dim but alive, a reminder of the power they had just disarmed. Lyra's chest heaved as she tried to catch her breath, her mind already racing with what needed to happen next. "You did it," Lyra said, her voice trembling with both exhaustion and relief. "We stopped it." Ronan's grip on the crystal tightened. "This isn't over yet. Kale won't back down. He's desperate, and desperate men make dangerous decisions." Lyra nodded. "We need to get this crystal to the fleet. It's the only irrefutable proof we have of what the Council has been hiding." Before Ronan could respond, a voice echoed through the chamber, cold and venomous. "You think you've won?" Kale's figure emerged from the shadows, his face twisted in rage, flanked by a group of elite loyalists. His eyes burned with a dangerous mix of hatred and fanaticism. "You've only delayed the inevitable. The humans will not save you. They will destroy everything we have built." Lyra stepped forward, her fins trembling but her voice steady. "What we've built is a lie. You've kept our people in the dark, controlled them with fear. The truth is out now, Kale. You can't stop it." Kale's laughter was sharp and bitter. "Truth? The truth will tear this world apart. The people are not ready for it, and they never will be. They need guidance. They need order. They need freedom," Ronan interjected, his voice like steel. "Freedom to choose their path, not have it dictated by someone too afraid to let go of power." Kale's gaze flicked to Ronan, his expression one of pure disdain. "And what would a human know of freedom? Your kind is a scourge, spreading chaos across the stars. You come here with promises of unity, but it will end in blood, as it always does." Lyra raised her voice, cutting through the tension. "Enough, Kale. This isn't about humanity or Tetheria. This is about you, clinging to power because you fear losing control. But your time is over." Kale's lips curled into a snarl. "We'll see about that." With a sharp gesture, he signaled his loyalists to attack. Ronan pushed Lyra behind him, raising his pulse rifle and firing with precision. The chamber erupted into chaos once again, the air thick with the sound of energy blasts and shouted commands. Lyra scrambled to cover, her mind racing. She knew they couldn't win this fight outright. Kale's forces were too well trained, too determined. Her eyes darted to the crystal in Ronan's hands, then to the chamber's central console. An idea began to form, dangerous but their only chance. She crawled to Ronan's side, her voice barely audible over the noise. "The console. If we reroute the crystal's power, we can create an EMP burst. It'll disable their weapons long enough for us to escape." Ronan glanced at her, his expression grim. "And what happens to us when it goes off?" Lyra hesitated but met his gaze with unwavering determination. "We'll figure it out. We don't have a choice." Without waiting for his response, she darted toward the console, her movements quick and precise. Ronan followed, covering her as she worked. The console's interface flickered to life under her hands, ancient symbols glowing faintly. Her fingers flew over the controls, guided by instinct and the knowledge she'd gleaned from the ancient texts. "Hurry!" Ronan shouted, firing a shot that narrowly missed one of Kale's loyalists. "We're out of time." "I'm almost there," Lyra replied, her voice taut with concentration. The crystal's light intensified as she rerouted its energy, the chamber vibrating with the buildup of power. A high-pitched whine filled the air, growing louder with each passing second. Kale's voice cut through the chaos, filled with rage. "Stop her! Stop her now!" The loyalists surged forward, but it was too late. Lyra pressed the final command, and the crystal's energy surged outward in a blinding wave. The chamber was bathed in brilliant light, the noise deafening as the EMP burst rippled through the air. The Loyalists' weapons fizzled and died, their systems overloaded by the surge. Cale stumbled back, his face a mask of disbelief. When the light faded, the chamber was eerily quiet. Lyra and Ronan stood at the console, their bodies trembling from the force of the blast. Around them, Cale's Loyalists were disarmed and disoriented, their weapons useless. Cale staggered to his feet, his expression twisted with fury. You've doomed us all." "No," Lyra said, her voice calm but firm. "We've given Tetheria a chance to choose its own future." Cale lunged toward them, but Ronan stepped forward, his fist connecting with Cale's jaw in a single, decisive blow. The High Priest crumpled to the ground, unconscious. Lyra turned to Ronan, her chest heaving. "We need to get out of here before more reinforcements arrive." Ronan nodded, his gaze lingering on the fallen Cale. "And then what?" "Even with this victory, the Council still holds power." Lyra's expression hardened. "Not for long. The people have seen the truth. The humans are here. The Council's lies can't hold up under the weight of that. Change is coming, Ronan, and it starts now." Together, they exited the chamber, the crystal still pulsing faintly in Ronan's hands. Outside, the human fleet hovered in the sky, a reminder of the vast universe waiting beyond Tetheria's seas. Lyra felt a surge of hope, tempered by the knowledge of the battles still to come. As they swam toward the surface, Lyra glanced at Ronan, her voice quiet but resolute. "This is only the beginning. We've opened the door to a new world. Now we have to fight to keep it open." Ronan's lips curved into a small, determined smile. "Then let's make sure we win." The horizon glimmered with the light of a new dawn, the waters of Tetheria shimmering as if reflecting the promise of the future. Together, Lyra and Ronan prepared to face whatever came next, united in their mission to bring truth, freedom, and hope to a world on the brink of transformation.